You've seen it happen. The debates, the back and forths, the attempts to dominate conversations. People speak loudly, trying to drown out others with their points of view. You've been in those rooms, haven't you? The ones where the air feels thick with tension, where everyone is trying to get their opinion across, believing they are right? There's an undeniable truth here. Most people argue to win, not to understand. The instinct is simple. You're in a conversation, you feel your opinion mattering, and before you know it, you're fighting to prove you're right. The louder your voice, the stronger your argument, the more certain you feel that you are winning. But in reality, all you're doing is closing the door on understanding. You're trapped in a mental cage built on ego and pride. Now let's step back for a moment. Imagine a different kind of conversation, one where the goal isn't to dominate but to understand. A conversation where curiosity leads the way, where questions don't try to trap but to reveal. What makes you feel that way is a question that doesn't aim to put the other person on the defensive. It's a question born of curiosity, of a desire to truly understand the person across from you. When you ask with intention, when you engage with empathy, you unlock a truth that most people miss. It's not about proving a point. It's about allowing the conversation to breathe, giving space for ideas to flow. It's about listening more than you speak. And when you do that, when you listen, really listen, something extraordinary happens. People open up, they reveal parts of themselves they would otherwise keep hidden. Smart people, the ones who truly understand how to move through life with purpose, don't argue to win. They ask to understand. And in understanding, they gain something more valuable than the victory of a debate. They gain insight. The kind of insight that shifts the direction of a room, the kind of insight that leaves a lasting impression. And most importantly, they gain influence not because they're louder, but because they're wiser. Failure. Most people treat it like a full stop, like a finality. They fail a test, they miss a goal, and they let it consume them. They spiral into self-doubt, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. Maybe they bombed a presentation or didn't land that promotion. It feels like everything is falling apart. They think to themselves, I suck. Or worse, I'll never get this right. It's an all too familiar cycle, one that too many find themselves trapped in. But here's the truth. Failure is not a full stop, not a dead end. It's data. Yes, data. Every setback is a learning opportunity. The most intelligent people in the world don't treat failure as a personal indictment. They treat it as feedback. A failed presentation is not the end of the road. It's simply information. A missed opportunity is not a defeat, but a lesson in what didn't work and what might work better next time. Think about it. When you zoom out, you start to see patterns that you couldn't see in the moment. In the heat of failure, all you see is the frustration, the embarrassment, the feeling of defeat. But when you step back and view the situation from a broader perspective, you start to see the larger system at play. What led to this moment? What choices, behaviors, or patterns got you here? And most importantly, what can you do differently next time? Smart people don't let setbacks define them. They don't dwell in self-pity or get stuck in the past. Instead, they embrace the systems around them. Life is not a collection of isolated events. It's a series of interconnected moments. And when you treat life like a system, every piece of data becomes valuable. A misstep becomes a learning tool, not a reason to give up. A failure is simply part of the system that can be tweaked, tested, and improved upon. The key is perspective. When you focus only on the moment, you miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is where growth happens. The bigger picture is where you find the answers to the questions you never thought to ask. So, stop obsessing over the tiny details that don't matter. Zoom out, see the system, and treat life as an ongoing experiment, a series of tests that guide you closer to where you want to be. Remember, success isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about the ability to adjust, to learn, to evolve with each new piece of data life provides. That's how you grow. Faster and more effectively than those who stay stuck in the moment, unable to see the broader patterns of their own life. This style mirrors Morgan Freeman's authoritative yet calming voice, blending deep wisdom with practical, actionable insights. Each part encourages reflection and introspection while keeping the focus on empowering the listener to shift their mindset and take control of their life. How many times have you found yourself stressing over something that you couldn't change? The traffic that makes you late, someone's opinion that cuts deep, the endless flow of bad news in the world. You try to control it, you try to fix it, but it never works. The more you focus on things beyond your control, the more your energy is drained, the more your peace is eroded. Let's pause right there. What if I told you that smart people don't waste their time on things they can't control? They don't waste their energy on things that are out of their hands. Instead, they ask themselves one simple question: is this in my control? This question changes everything. When faced with a challenge or a stressor, instead of spiraling into frustration, the smart person takes a step back. They assess the situation with calm clarity. Can I control this? If the answer is yes, then they take action. But if the answer is no, they let it go. Imagine the peace that comes from this shift. No more battling with the uncontrollable. No more wasting mental and emotional energy on things that will only drain you. Instead, you focus on what you can do. You focus on what is within your realm of influence. You channel your energy into those things that move you forward, those things that align with your values, your goals, and your purpose. This is the true power of self-control. The ability to say, I cannot control this, so I will not let it consume me. The ability to say, I will focus only on what I can change and leave the rest behind. This focus, this clarity, is what separates high performers from the rest of the world. It's what allows them to remain calm in chaos, to stay grounded while others are swept away by the tide of stress. And this focus comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling yourself. Smart people don't let the noise around them dictate their actions. They choose where to focus their attention, and in doing so, they harness their true power. When you ask yourself, is this in my control? And you focus only on what you can influence, you begin to experience a sense of peace and confidence that others simply don't have. It's the secret to navigating life with grace and effectiveness. The more you practice this question, the more control you gain over your own life, and the less power everything else has over you. The world is loud. Noise surrounds us at every turn. It's in the traffic outside, the phone buzzing with messages, the endless stream of opinions on social media. People fill every empty space with words, trying to be heard, trying to be seen. Silence, in contrast, is uncomfortable. It's awkward, it's unfamiliar, and often, it's avoided. But there's power in silence, real power. Think about the last time you were in a conversation. How often did you feel the need to fill the silence with your own words? To respond immediately? To interrupt when there was a pause? The desire to speak is a natural instinct, but it's also a trap. In the rush to speak, we lose the opportunity to listen, and in listening, we gain understanding. Smart people don't rush to fill silence. They embrace it. They sit in it. They use it as a space for reflection, observation, and connection. The person who can remain quiet, who can sit with the discomfort of silence, is the person who often knows the most. It's in those moments of stillness that the true insights emerge, the ideas that you wouldn't have heard if you'd been too busy talking. There's strength in silence. It commands attention without saying a word. It allows you to observe, to take in the subtle details that others miss. In silence, you don't just hear words. You hear emotions, intentions, and unspoken truths. You see people for who they truly are, not just the image they project. Think about someone who is calm in the midst of chaos. They don't react immediately. They pause, they breathe, and they take in the full picture before responding. That moment of stillness gives them clarity. It gives them an advantage. It allows them to remain in control, even when everyone else is scrambling. By getting comfortable with silence, you begin to master the art of listening. You stop reacting to every external stimulus, and instead, you start observing, processing, and responding with purpose. This is where true influence lies, not in shouting over the noise, but in being the one who remains calm, composed, and wise. So next time you find yourself in a situation where the world is screaming at you to react, take a breath, embrace the silence, let the moment breathe. Because in that silence, you'll find the power to control your actions and your emotions. You'll find the clarity to respond with intention, not impulse. Silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of power. And in that power, you'll find your ability to navigate the noise of the world with grace and authority. Life doesn't always go according to plan. People say things that hurt. Situations arise that throw us off course. It's easy to react, to snap, to let your emotions take control and say things you'll regret later. Most people do it. They react in the moment, driven by anger, fear, frustration. They let their emotions dictate their actions, and in doing so, they lose their power. But the smart person? They don't react. They observe. When life throws a curveball, they don't panic. When someone makes a rude comment or a situation takes a sudden turn, they don't lash out. They pause. They breathe. They take a moment to observe, to assess, and to gain clarity. This pause, however brief, gives them insight. It allows them to see what others don't. While everyone else is caught up in the chaos, reacting without thought, the smart person is calculating, observing, and strategizing. They understand that in the space between stimulus and reaction lies their power. It's in that moment of stillness that they can decide how to respond, not just how to react. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where someone said something hurtful or challenged you, and in the heat of the moment, you said something you didn't mean? Now, imagine if, instead of reacting immediately, you had taken a moment to pause, to observe the situation, to breathe, and to choose your words carefully. The response would have been different. It would have been measured, calm, and deliberate. In that space, you would have had control over your actions instead of letting your emotions control you. This is the true power of observation. By taking a moment to pause, to let the dust settle, you gain the clarity needed to respond wisely. Reacting is easy. Anyone can do that. But observing and then choosing the best course of action requires strength. It requires emotional control. It requires awareness. The smartest people in the room don't get swept up in the chaos. They are the ones who remain still, who wait, and who observe. They are the ones who can see things clearly while others are caught up in the storm. And that ability to remain calm, to pause and observe before reacting, gives them the leverage in any situation. By practicing this, you develop the strength to control not only your actions but your emotions. You become the calm in the chaos, the person everyone turns to for insight, the person who doesn't need to shout to be heard, the person who holds the power in silence. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need a PhD. You don't need to talk the loudest, act the fastest, or have all the answers. The real flex is not in what you know, but in how you think. It's in your ability to stay calm when others are losing their heads. It's in your ability to understand instead of argue, to observe instead of react, to focus on what's in your control instead of getting lost in the noise. Think back to the last argument you were part of. Was it really about winning, or was it about understanding? What if, instead of trying to prove your point, you asked questions and listened? What if you allowed the other person to explain their perspective without interrupting, without rushing to defend yourself? What if the goal wasn't to be right, but to learn? And when life throws a setback your way, do you see it as a failure, or do you see it as feedback? Instead of obsessing over the moment, what if you zoomed out and viewed the situation as part of a larger system? A failure is just data. A misstep is just an opportunity for growth. In the grand scheme of things, nothing is final. Everything can be adjusted, tested, and improved upon. When you stop reacting to every external force, when you stop letting the noise of the world dictate your actions, you gain something powerful: control over yourself. You realize that you can't control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. And that's where your true power lies. The smartest people in the world are the ones who have mastered their own minds. They understand that control is not about bending the world to their will, but about mastering themselves. They know that silence is strength. They know that observation is power. They understand that to change the world, you must first change yourself. So, stop rushing to be seen. Stop reacting to every little thing that comes your way. Instead, focus on what you can control. Focus on mastering your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions. Because when you do, you'll become something powerful, something unforgettable. You won't need to be the loudest person in the room. You'll be the one everyone looks to when they need direction. You won't need to fight for attention. Your presence will be enough. And that, my friend, is the real flex. This is how you become smarter, sharper, and unshakable. Not through knowledge alone, but through mental shifts that allow you to move through life with clarity, control, and calm. These habits, these ways of thinking, will make you a force to be reckoned with. Not because you know more, but because you think differently. And the world will notice. In this world, noise is everywhere. It calls for your attention at every corner. Social media notifications, breaking news, people vying for your focus. Everyone is shouting. Everyone is chasing. Everyone is trying to be seen, heard, and validated. The world feeds on the loud. It thrives on chaos. But here's the real question. What if the power wasn't in the noise? What if the true strength, the quiet power, comes from simply being still and letting the world chase after what you don't need? There's a certain kind of calm that comes with not needing to be heard, not needing to prove your worth. It's the kind of calm that makes you unshakable. When you stop rushing to keep up with everyone else's noise, you create space for your own presence to shine through. And that's the power that others can't ignore. The loudest voices in the room don't always command the most respect. Often, it's the ones who speak the least, who observe more than they react, who hold their ground in silence, that leave the most lasting impact. The ones who don't need to announce their worth. They just quietly exude it. These are the individuals who walk into a room and change the atmosphere without saying a word. Their presence is felt, not because they are shouting, but because they've mastered themselves. They are the ones who have understood the real strength, the power of silence. This shift isn't about abandoning your voice. It's about knowing when to use it. It's about knowing when to stay quiet, when to listen, when to observe. The world will keep chasing the loudest voice, the most dramatic headline, the most flashy performance. But you'll be the one who stands firm, who listens, who understands, and who acts with precision. You let them chase after the noise while you build something far more powerful, quiet strength. When you embrace silence, you stop chasing after external validation. You stop worrying about what others think. Instead, you focus on your own growth, your own direction, your own clarity. And in doing so, you attract the respect, admiration, and influence that others so desperately seek through noise. In a world obsessed with following trends and opinions, the real leaders are the ones who lead by example. They don't follow the crowd. They don't chase after the latest fad or get caught up in the latest social media battle. They carve their own path and walk it with confidence and purpose. And when they do, the world takes notice. You see, most people are followers. They move with the tide, reacting to the world's demands. They adapt to whatever is trending, whatever is popular. But the true leaders are those who set the trends. They don't just react to the world, they shape it. They lead with intention, with authenticity, and with an unshakable belief in their own vision. This is where true power comes from. Taking control of your own life and leading by example. It's not about waiting for permission, not about following someone else's direction. It's about knowing where you're going and walking there with purpose, regardless of what others think or do. Leaders don't need to be flashy. They don't need to convince others of their worth. They simply show up, stay true to their values, and make things happen. And in doing so, they naturally inspire others, to follow their lead. But here's the thing. Leadership doesn't come from titles or positions. It doesn't come from the loudest voice or the most aggressive tactics. Leadership comes from within. It comes from your ability to stay grounded in your purpose, to stand firm in your beliefs, and to guide others by example. When you lead this way, the world will naturally fall in line. You won't have to force it. You won't have to fight for your position. The people who are meant to follow you will do so, not because you demanded it, but because they recognize your strength, your clarity, and your authenticity. This is the real power of leadership. It's not about control over others, it's about control over yourself. The power to stay true to your values, to act with purpose, and to inspire others without forcing them. The power to lead by example, not by force. This concludes the full set of 8 mental shifts, culminating in the idea that true strength, influence, and leadership come from mastering oneself, staying grounded in silence, and leading by example. These shifts guide us toward becoming a more effective, impactful, and powerful version of ourselves. By adopting these mental habits, you not only become more resilient and wise, but you also set a powerful example for others. And in doing so, you step into the quiet power that allows you to lead, influence, and navigate life with unparalleled calm and strength.